Hello there, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm doing something a little bit different. I've been wanting to make this video for a long time. I've been excited to make this video for a long time. Today we are tier listing Marvel villains, and this one should be a fun one. It should be jam-packed. The movie reviews are going to come. I've been kind of slacking, lost motivation for a bit, had troubles with my PC, but we're back now. Expect some more videos, and let's start off with this banger. Alright, and here's the tier list. Updated, has everyone up to Black Panther Wakanda Forever, including all of the TV shows, which is why I kind of took a little bit to make this video. I wanted to wait for Black Panther to come out because I knew Namor was gonna be so damn good, and he was. Also, this video is gonna have minimal edits. I'm gonna try and go for as long as I can without messing up. I might leave some mistakes in there. I can't really talk straight to a camera for so long without messing up or stuttering, so here we go. As you can see, I already have some villains on here. I sectioned them as not really relevant, and then I sectioned the side villains. I feel like this category pertained a little bit more to the story, or were just like a little bit cooler, more interesting, and this section was just like not really relevant. As you can see, there's some of the I forget their names. That's how irrelevant they are. Um, I forget some of their names, but here is some of the people from She-Hulk. There's this actor from Moon Knight who sadly passed away, RIP. And then there's this guy from Endgame that was briefly mentioned in Hawkeye's story. And then some people from Miss Marvel, Guardians, just villains that didn't really pertain much to the story, or just weren't really worthy of being in like a main category. And I made sure to keep all of the main villains here. So I don't know how we'll start this off. I guess we'll start with Searcher. I got the GOAT, amazing, good, fine, bad, and hot garbage, because there are going to be some hot garbages on here. Let's start with Surtur. I really don't know. I feel like Hela is more of the main villain of this story, but he does play a huge role in destroying Asgard. And overall, he's just really cool to look at, really pleasing. I love those giant villains and creatures that are just huge in scale. So I might put Searcher at good. I think I'm fine with that. Next, we got the Ironmonger, I believe his name is. I don't know, man. Obadiah Stane, he does bring a lot of charisma to the villain and to the role of this villain. But this is also the start of the copy and paste format we've seen in villains in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. He is just a clear-cut copy of our hero, just evil. So I'm not really sure how I think about him. I don't think I put him in bad just because his charisma saves him as a villain. So I think I'm fine putting him at fine. Next, don't remember his name. I can't even tell you the last time I watched Captain Marvel, so I'm gonna put him in hot garbage. I really should probably put him in not really relevant now that I think about it, because I feel like, where is he at? I feel like this dude is more of the main villain of the story, the incel POS that is in the Captain Marvel movie. So I'll just switch him out and put him at hot garbage instead. Speaking of hot garbage, we have the Frost Giants and the Elves. I mean, just not that interesting at all. And I can't tell you the last time I even watched Thor: The Dark World. So I did a Marvel rewatch a while back, and I made sure to skip this movie. So it's been a very long time. Actually, let me rephrase that. It's been a hot minute since I've watched Thor: The Dark World, so I'm fine putting them there. Just never really appealed to me. But here's a villain that did appeal to me. Mentioned her earlier, Cate Blanchett, the GOAT. Also, I watched Tar, and I was going to come home and do a review on it. I watched Tar, I watched Decision to Leave, and a bunch of other bangers, Banshees of Inisherin, and I really want to make videos on them. I really do. I'm so far removed from watching them, though. It's been a couple weeks, a month. So if I ever get the chance to rewatch them, expect a video. I was going to do it. I came home. Tar, I felt like I really couldn't understand, but I want to rewatch it and fully engage in the movie because Cate Blanchett deserves every award there is for her role in Tar. Um, she killed it as Hela. I thought Hela was amazing, OP. Here I am. I'm just recycling the words on here. Speaking of amazing, I thought she was amazing. I thought she was very OP. I love the way they tied it in with Thor and Loki, gave them a villain that's not a copy of themselves, but is appeals more into the emotional side, the family drama side of everything in this story, which is why I like Loki as a villain as well. So Hela, I'm gonna put as amazing. We'll see as we go on. There might be some adjustments, and then I'll give a final list at the end of this video. Ghost. Ghost is a tough one. I'm not the biggest fan of Ant-Man. This was 2, I believe. Yes, Ant-Man 2. This was Ant-Man 2, I believe. And we also have, I forget his name, but I believe he is also a villain in Ant-Man 2. I'm gonna pair them together. Because why not? Ghost, I feel like she's more of an anti-hero. Her motivations I can understand completely. So I don't think she's bad. She's just not that interesting. I don't know how this area is gonna fill up as we go on. But pairing her with Ironmonger, I feel like Ironmonger wipes. I mean, he is a clear-cut, way better villain than her. But at the same time, is she bad enough to be put in the bad spot? And while we're at it, I'll put him in hot garbage. But I'll put him above everybody else because he was at least somewhat interesting. But Ghost, I'm going to put her in bad for now. We'll see how the final list does. I'll do some adjustments and we'll see the final outcome. But for now, I'll put her in bad. Dreykov from Black Widow. As a villain, he is horrible. As an actor that plays a villain in a movie, he's just fine. I have to rewatch Black Widow. I feel like while he was the main villain, I feel like the quote-unquote villain of this movie was more of like the family aspect and not being able to bond or finding out that her family was faked. But Dreykov, I'm gonna keep in here just because we don't have concepts as villains on this list. So Dreykov, I'm gonna keep as fine. I'm gonna put him under Ironmonger though. Thanos. Come on now. The GOAT. One of the greatest antagonists, villains of our generation. Should I even waste time explaining? I mean, there's so much said about him, that I can't even contribute anymore because he deserves all of the praise. Josh Brolin, an absolute GOAT. And, so is Thanos. CGI on him, visual effects, some of the best Marvel has ever done. I feel like that is now the standard, which is why we hear a lot of complaints about CGI and visual effects in the newer TV shows and movies. Thanos set the bar. Villain-wise, visually pleasing-wise, I feel like Thanos is him. He is the bar, and he deserves to be in the GOAT spot. Whiplash. I will pair Whiplash with, who was it? Justin Hammer. Can't find him. I'll pair Whiplash with Justin Hammer. They won't be in hot garbage, but they will be in bad. But yes, we have Whiplash and we have Justin Hammer. Now, I don't necessarily think they're bad. I think Justin Hammer, again, falls into the same thing as Ironmonger. His character's charisma saves him a lot. But at the same time, is he really like a villain? Is he a huge threat? Not really. Whiplash, we go back to just the clear-cut copy of our hero, just a villain. So they just never really resonated with me. I will say I do like Whiplash more than Ghost, and I will put Justin Hammer a little bit below Ghost. So I think I'm fine with that. But overall, the Iron Man 2 villains, I mean, in the movie as a whole, just very forgettable, and the villains don't really grasp me at all. I have very strong opinions towards Iron Man 2 and even Iron Man 3, just a little bit. Anyways, we are moving to, oh, I forget the Celestial's name. Arishem. Arishem the Celestial from the Eternals. Was he really a villain? I also have Icarus on here, so this one might have slipped past me. I don't know. Does Arishem deserve to be on the main list? I don't really know. Or should he be side villain? I think I'm gonna put him as side villain. By the way, this order here is randomized. This is in no particular order. The only order that matters is the main list. So we'll just, on the topic of Arishem, we'll go ahead and put Icarus in here. Okay, Icarus. He is a good villain. He's a good character. Like he's a good character to hate. As a villain, though, I mean, I'm fine putting him at good. I'm fine with that. I think he was very pleasing to look at. Not just his face. I mean, the man is gorgeous, but also, his powers and his skill set. I think it was very, very cool. He added a lot to like a lot of the fights. So I could appreciate that. And overall, I think he was a solid villain. I'm fine putting Icarus there. Let's see. We move on to, oh my gosh, I'm blanking on his name. Zola. Zola. From I'm gonna say this is Winter Soldier. We have a lot of Winter Soldiers on here. As you can see, this man, I forget his name. Very good villain in here. I'd say he's very close to being a main villain, but I'm gonna keep him here for now. And then we also have Bucky. So why don't we just knock out Bucky and go ahead and put him as the GOAT. I'm putting Bucky as the GOAT. I'm sorry. Bucky is an amazing villain. He is an amazing character. The Winter Soldier remains as my favorite Marvel movie. And that might be a hot take nowadays. I know a lot of people love Infinity War. They give Infinity War a ton of love. Very much so. I mean, it's like right there neck and neck with it. But as a movie, I don't know. Captain America Winter Soldier, it's always been my love. It's always been my first love when it comes to these Marvel movies. So I think Bucky deserves the GOAT spot. Zola, on the other hand, he was very good in here. I think I'm gonna put him above Icarus. Honestly, I'm gonna put him above Searcher. I think Zola deserves the #1 spot in that good column or row here. Zola was very out of nowhere, I'll say. They don't have his human version in here, which was a little bit of a side villain in the first Captain America movie. But Winter Soldier, his android version, where he kind of came back out of nowhere in that little army base that Natasha and Steve were at, and kind of set everything into motion for the events that happened in Winter Soldier. So he was very good. Now that I think about it, though, very little screen time. I don't know. I'm gonna put Zola at fine. I changed my mind. Very little screen time, and overall, I feel like the main villain of this story is really Bucky and this dude right here. But I'm gonna keep him as a side villain. I'm changing my mind a lot here. I think Zola deserves to be a side villain in this one. I think he deserves to be a side villain. I've changed my mind. If this man is in the side villain category with way more screen time than Zola, I feel like he deserves here. If anything, we should put this dude in here above Icarus, because he was a huge hand in what happened with SHIELD and with Hydra infiltrating SHIELD. So I'll put him in the good spot. Zola, I'm sorry, you gotta get bumped down to main character, side villain. Ultron, amazing. Say what you want about Age of Ultron. I get it. Not a lot of people love it. I honestly don't think there's a lot to hate in the movie. I like it. I think Ultron's an amazing villain. I don't think they should have ever killed him off. The potential that he had out of this roof, insane. And we will touch on him again when we get to What If. But Ultron, I think, deserves that amazing category. Great villain. Hasn't been touched. Well, he has been touched, but Killmonger. I think I'm fine putting Killmonger at the lead of the amazing spot. I think Killmonger is a great, great villain. And just a little teaser for my Namor selection. I think Ryan Coogler is 2 for 2 on his villains. He has made some of the best villains in the MCU, and Killmonger is the stepping stone for that. Again, the copy of our hero, just evil, but his intentions, I feel like he's more of an anti-hero. His intentions are good. It's like, I see what you're going for. It's just, how far are you willing to go for your goal? And for Killmonger, it's a little bit too far. Killmonger leads the race in the amazing category, and I'm completely fine with that. Loved him as a villain, and hope we see him back in the future. Dormammu. I mean, Dormammu was fine. You know, we're probably going to see more of him in Doctor Strange 3, but till then, I mean, I could really just put him at fine. He didn't do much, and I feel like the main villain of Doctor Strange 1 was Kilius, I want to say. I forget his name. No, I'm blanking on his name also. Which, Mads Mikkelsen. Oh, man. I will put him on top of fine. Every decision I make, I'm like, am I going to get flamed for this? Am I going to get roasted for this? Kilcius, I forget his name, is leading the fine race. Dormammu is last in the fine category. I think overall they're just fine. The main thing I like about Doctor Strange 1 is Doctor Strange's journey. I care more about that than I do about the villains or like the conflict, you know? I care more about Doctor Strange and his journey and his development in his first movie. So the villains stay in the fine category. The movie, very good. Okay, I wanted to keep this in here because I wanted to talk about my main problem with Shang-Chi. It's the third act. I feel like you should have just kept the focus on his dad. Let me see, where is he at? Bam. You should have kept the focus on his dad, because his dad, was an amazing villain. I'll say his dad was an amazing villain. One of the greatest things about this movie is the relationship that Shang-Chi has with his dad. And I heard somebody say, I can't remember where I heard it or when I heard it, when you can have your hero and your villain sit across from each other and just talk it out over dinner, I mean, that's crazy. That's something that we don't see a lot in these Marvel movies. Hence, Bucky being a GOAT, Killmonger leading the amazing, category. And I feel like Shang-Chi's dad, I'm blanking on his name, fits in that role as well. I might even put him over Ultron. And I wish they would have focused more on him. This dragon, though, don't know why it's on the list. I should probably put it in side villains, but for the sake of conversation, I'll put it in hot garbage. The third act really brings the movie down a lot. There's a lot of stuff that I didn't like, such as Aquafina's character kind of just knowing how to shoot a bow and arrow out of nowhere. And this dragon, I don't think we needed a big CGI final battle. I think just having him and his dad go at it, and that conversation, even when they're fighting with the 10 rings, perfect. It was so damn cool. And their dialogue that they shared afterwards, amazing. So why not just leave the movie at that? We don't really need a big CGI fight with this dragon. Granted, dragon looked very cool. Seeing Shang-Chi ride that dragon and just like obliterate it with the 10 rings and fight with the 10 rings, the two dragons going at it, very cool. Needed though? Not really. So while I do think his dad was an amazing villain, the third act villain that they brought in, for the sake of a big CGI battle, hot garbage. Next, we have Ego. Now, I actually think Ego is a very, very good villain. Having Kurt Russell play him was an amazing casting choice. Him and Chris Pratt just going at it bar for bar, just trading off like amazing pieces of dialogue to each other. I thought was great. Guardians Volume 2, one of my favorite Marvel movies. The emotion behind all of it in every scene is just great. And a lot of that is carried by Kurt Russell and the villain and the character he plays. So, Kurt Russell as Ego, amazing villain, and a perfect villain for Guardians Volume 2. So I think Kurt Russell's Ego I'm gonna put at good. He's leading the good race right now. Carly Morgenthau, hot garbage. I mean, come on. I will put her above the incel from Captain Marvel. But Carly Morgenthau, I mean, that was one of my biggest problems with Falcon and Winter Soldier. I was loving a lot of it, and I even want to rewatch it to appreciate more of those aspects. But the villains were not anywhere near what I liked about the show. And overall, I think they bring the show down a lot for me. I did not find them interesting. It kind of reminded me of the whole Miss Marvel thing. You have this like ragtag group of villains that we just don't really care about, that just like want to be evil and watch the world burn. Granted, they have their reasons, but it's like they're not. It's not even good reasoning, and it doesn't appeal to me at all. And just seeing her kill people, and then Sam being like, this girl died because y'all were too blind or something like that. It's just it never worked for me. Never liked Carly Morgenthau or the Flag Smashers, and I'm gonna put her in the hot garbage list. She had a lot of potential. I think she could have been a very, very good um villain. I loved her in Rogue One, I believe she was in, but I mean, just not that great. Not that great. But you know who was great? US Agent um Walker, John Walker. I thought he was a phenomenal villain. At times he kind of seemed like an anti-hero, and I will stand by this take that Sam and Bucky were really making their own problems, and a lot of that involved John Walker. Not saying that John Walker wasn't in the wrong, definitely was. And I think Wyatt Russell played that phenomenally. Kurt Russell and Wyatt Russell, let's keep them in the good category. Father and son, let's keep them right here with each other. I think I'll keep him at the last spot in the good category. But Wyatt Russell's U.S. Agent, phenomenal. Now we got Echo. Again, didn't really care for her. I mean, I liked her story, and while we're at it, let's bring Kingpin in here. I liked her story. I feel like she was mainly just set up for her own show and set up for Kingpin. And I don't know, she didn't really do it for me. Tons of respect and props to the actress that plays her. She did a great job, and then being deaf and playing this character, the representation is great and everything. But overall, Hawkeye, I mean, the villains in here, didn't really work for me. Echo, I think I'm gonna put at bad. Kingpin, now look, I get it. Netflix Kingpin. If this was Netflix's Kingpin, GOAT. Automatic GOAT. But we're talking about the MCU, and we're talking about the MCU's iteration of Kingpin. I don't think he lived up to everyone's standards, which Netflix did. The Netflix show set a super high bar, so I don't knock them for not being able to live up to it. But I mean, he was getting tossed around. I mean, this man had like Hulk strength, which I get it. You kind of want to go for the comic accuracy wackiness, but at the same time, I feel like I didn't really like him in this, and I feel like I don't want to say he didn't belong, but he should have been fleshed out properly, and he should have been given a little bit more time to develop in the show. So, Netflix's Kingpin, I'd even put at number one. Netflix's Kingpin, right here. The MCU's Kingpin, though, I mean, I don't know. I'd put him above Icarus. I think that's fine. I think that's fair. I'm fine putting him above Icarus. Plus, Daredevil's getting its own show, dropping, I want to say, in 2 years. Yeah, in 2024, early 2024. So maybe we'll see more there. Maybe he'll be fleshed out a little bit more, and this whole list will change. But for right now, I'm gonna put him in the good category. Taskmaster. Now, look, I have no problem with the gender changing of Taskmaster. Taskmaster. Um, I kind of like that they tied her closer to Natasha in the movie, and gave it more of an emotional pull, and tied it more to her backstory to make it more of a personal villain. And overall, she was just badass. But that's about it. I kind of wish Taskmaster had more dialogue, um, which I understand that aspect as well. Just I wish Taskmaster was done a little bit better, and maybe she will be. Maybe the mantle will be passed around. Who knows what the future holds for this villain? But for right now, I will put Taskmaster below Whiplash in the bad category. It's just an all right villain, and you could even chalk it up to, either or of Dreykov or Taskmaster being a side villain, you know. So I'm fine with that. Doc Ock, could have put him in the side villain category, but I feel like him and Willem Dafoe, Green Goblin, is the GOAT. As of right now, he is the GOAT. I don't think anybody on this list is taking that number one spot. So we got it locked up for him right now. Easily one of the best parts of that amazing, phenomenal No Way Home movie. Willem Dafoe, I do not mind putting him at the number one spot. Doc Ock, on the other hand, great villain. Great villain. I love the development he got in this, his arc that he got in this stacked, jam-packed movie. I loved seeing him come full circle and have that dialogue with Toby. I thought it was heartwarming. I teared up straight up when he looks at Toby, and they share a little bit of dialogue. It's amazing. So Doc Ock, I'll put in the front. I'll put in the front of the Amazing Race. Agatha. Oof. I think this is a good spot for Agatha. Catherine Hahn did amazing. Did what she could with what she got, but the formula that these TV shows are following, kind of bringing in a last minute villain after teasing one all season, started here and honestly should have ended there as well. I think she was cool, some of her motives were all right. As a villain, just not all that, not really anything special. And again, a copy of our hero, but just evil. I'm excited to see Agatha Covenant Chaos. I mean, they got Aubrey Plaza and Eric Andre for some reason. So I'm excited for the show, and hopefully they can flesh her out a little bit more and make us, care some more about her for whenever she's in, other future projects. But as of right now, as of WandaVision, I think she's just bad. So I'm fine right there. Speaking of bad, Aldrin Killian, I mean, just a horrible villain. I hated him in Iron Man 3. Again, he had some charisma to him, but it's like, I'm just some ugly dude that Tony Stark rejected, and now I'm just as bad as him, or as just as big and bad as him. And then having Pepper take the powers and then kill him, it was just all around very messy and weird, and I don't think he was a good villain at all. So Killian, I'm fine putting him here above the incel from Captain Marvel. I think that's solid. I think that's fair. Next we got Loki. I'm assuming this is Loki from the first Avengers movie, which couldn't have picked a better villain to kick off your team up movies with. I think Loki's great. The fact that he's still hanging around the MCU to this day is phenomenal. I think he's a great villain. I love, seeing him as like the god of mischief and always having an upper hand, even in like Ragnarok. I thought it was amazing. Him and Chris Hemsworth, they just play off each other so well. And Loki as the main villain in the Avengers movie was great. And just seeing him and Thanos' relationship getting built from literally the first Avengers movie to Endgame or Infinity War was also very exciting and fun to be, on the ride along with. So Loki is certified amazing villain. Now, where do we put him on this list? This gets a little bit difficult. I think I will put him under Doc Ock. I really like Loki. Loki's a phenomenal villain. Jonathan Majors as Kang, or He Who Remains. Look, Jonathan Majors, just so damn good as He Who Remains. Gonna be amazing as Kang the Conqueror. As for Loki, though, as for the show, he just wasn't in it enough to really grasp me. Like, of course, I was so excited to see Jonathan Majors, and especially as He Who Remains, especially setting up everything in the multiverse saga. But I mean, as for the show, as for him being the villain of this show, I think he was just good. I think characters such as US Agent did a lot more for the story, and was in the whole entire show. Kingpin, we went over him. I think he's more interesting, a little bit better than US Agent, even though he wasn't in the show for that long. Him and Jonathan Majors as He Who Remains kind of fall in the same category. Since we spent more time with Kingpin, I feel like it's only right to put him above there. And I think I'm gonna put He Who Remains at the bottom of good. I just it has nothing to do with Kang. It has nothing to do with Jonathan Majors. It has everything to do with how much time he was in the show, and the formula of bringing in a villain in the last episode. And for that reason, I am fine putting He Who Remains at the bottom of good. If it was anybody else, if we didn't know Jonathan Majors was playing Kang, and if it was just a random person playing He Who Remains in Loki, probably wouldn't be as good. So I respect Jonathan Majors. I put him right there. Then we have OP Ultron from What If. Now, What If, hot garbage. I didn't really like it, but the villain was really cool. This Ultron, with all the Infinity Stones, and that last battle in the final episode was absolutely crazy. I mean, this dude is OP. Like, I cannot stress that enough. So, for that reason, this is hard. There wasn't ever an overarching villain in the show. It was more of just look at all these Avengers, and then we're gonna put them in a team together to face off against this Vision, who we just got introduced to. He is very powerful. I don't know, I'll put him at the bottom of good. If he wasn't as strong as he was, and as cool and as powerful as he was, he definitely wouldn't be here. But I mean, gotta give credit where credit's due. That man was crazy in What If. Hayward, I believe his name is. Hot garbage. He's a good antagonist, but then again, was he needed? I feel like this show was kind of all over the place at points, and if anything, they should have just focused on Hayward. I think up to episode 8 of WandaVision, it was banging, bro. It was banging. And episode 8 of WandaVision is still one of my favorite episodes of any, Disney Plus show. Makes me cry every time. And then they fumbled the bag with the finale. Hayward, though, if they would have kept him, he could have been a lot better. If they would have just kept him as the main antagonist. I'll put him at the top of hot garbage, though. As if that's any, as if that's anything. Red Skull, I mean, he was fine. Again, copy of our hero, just evil. And the whole first Avenger Captain America movie is kind of blurry to me anyway, so Red Skull is just kind of like a fine villain. There's nothing too crazy about him. All right, now we have Ronan. Look, it's been a while since I've watched the first Guardians movie. Ronan, I just don't really know. I'm fine putting him there, maybe above Red Skull. Yeah, just very forgettable. That's all I really have to say. Yellow Jacket. Good chance we could see him return in Ant-Man Quantumania if all of the rumors are true. But Yellow Jacket I think was a pretty good villain. I think he's fine. Again, copy of our hero, but I enjoyed their fights a lot. I enjoyed him as an antagonist to Scott Lang, and I think I will even go as far as putting him above Dracoff, but can't put him over Ironmonger. Think that spot is very fitting for him. Vulture, Michael Keaton's Vulture. This is hard, bro. This is very hard, and with every decision I make, I feel like I'm going to get some slack for it. But Vulture, I'm gonna put below Ego. Ah, man. I'm gonna put Vulture below Ego. I think Vulture is an amazing antagonist. He was a great villain. And again, it wasn't even like he was a true villain. I mean, he found out Peter Parker's identity, never snitched. He always stayed 10 toes. And he respected Peter. And you could tell that he respected Peter. And I always knew that he was going to be one of the villains that if Peter was ever in trouble, before No Way Home, if Peter was ever in trouble with like an MCU, Sinister Six, I feel like Vulture would kind of be the Doc Ock of the Sinister Six. So, we have Sinister Six and No Way Home, Doc Ock, the whole ragtag group of old Spider-Man villains, and Doc Ock is kind of the one that ends up turning good and kind of saving the Peters in a way. I feel like if there was an original Sinister Six in the MCU, set up in the MCU, Vulture would be in the spot that Doc Ock is in. He's just a great guy. He has his intentions. Again, the Tony Stark Spider-Man villains, I understand, but I think Vulture is a very interesting villain, and Homecoming is a very underrated movie. I don't think it deserves a lot of the hate that it gets. Speaking of Spider-Man villains that are motivated because they hate Tony Stark, Mysterio. However, Mysterio is goated, bro. He's amazing. I said goated and amazing, but I'm putting him in the amazing category. I love Jake Gyllenhaal as an actor. Prisoners, one of my favorite movies of all time. Probably my favorite movie of all time. And Jake Gyllenhaal is just him. He is just him. And Mysterio is that man. And that snow globe sequence is still one of the coolest things in any Marvel and any Spider-Man movie of all time. And, without Jake Gyllenhaal's charisma, I feel like the villain wouldn't have worked. But, if I'm Tom Holland, I'm trusting Jake Gyllenhaal with everything. So I can't fault him for that. I might even go as far as putting Mysterio above Shang-Chi's dad. Oh, man. I really hope I don't get too much slack for this. Abomination, pretty forgettable. Emil Blonsky is now also in She-Hulk, but again, it's not great at all. I'll put him here, but it's a... You know what? I'll put him in... man, this is tough. This is very tough. I'll put him in bad. I'll put him at the bottom of bad. I need to revisit the Incredible Hulk, but as for right now, I will put the Abomination at the bottom of bad. All right, Zemo. Now, this might be a hot take, but I'll put Zemo number 3 in the GOATed category. I will defend this statement to the day I die. If it wasn't for Zemo in Civil War, breaking up the Avengers, a simple man, he says it, an empire, he says something along the lines of like, an empire against like an army, whatever. But one that crumbles from the inside is never repairable. I'm butchering that quote, but something along those lines. And this mortal man with no powers, no nothing, lures Captain America to this super lab full of these super soldiers. And you think, okay, these super soldiers are going to be like the big thing of the movie. He walks in there, all dead. He wanted to get him there to show Tony the footage of Bucky murdering Tony's parents. and that empire crumbles from the inside, which gives Thanos way to come to Earth and have the events of Infinity War and Endgame play out. None of that would be possible if it weren't for Zemo. This man, this ordinary man that wants revenge for his family. Oh my god, I just got chills. Zemo is a goated villain. And I will stand by that statement till the end of time. I love Zemo as a villain. I loved him even more in Falcon and Winter Soldier. And I think he's just overall a GOAT. One of the greatest Marvel villains of all time. And I'm standing by that. Someone who isn't. The Mandarin. The Mandarin. Wow, I cannot believe I forgot that. I've been calling him Shang-Chi's dad this whole time. Jeez, man, that's embarrassing. The Mandarin. The fake Mandarin. Oh my gosh. I'm not even editing that out. I'm keeping everything in. The fake Mandarin. Hot garbage. You know, they redeemed him a bit in Shang-Chi, but even then he's not a villain, so they kind of redeemed like his good side. Yeah, I mean, he was funny, you know, but again, a fake out villain. He's kind of the side villain in this. So I could probably even put him there because Killian takes over the movie. But you know, it just not good. Not good nonetheless. Another villain that really isn't good, and I would probably replace Loki for yeah, I'm gonna replace Loki for him, is this android thing from the first Thor movie. Honestly forgettable, so not much to say about that. We'll just take, you know, him out for Loki. Arthur Harrow. Now, Ethan Hawke killed it as Arthur Harrow. I loved him in Moon Knight. I thought Moon Knight was a phenomenal MCU show, and I think Arthur Harrow, played by Ethan Hawke, was just as good, if not better. So, if that makes sense, I'm going to put him right under Hydra Agent from Winter Soldier. I thought he was a very, very good villain. And I love seeing him and Oscar Isaac play off each other all show. I love Ethan Hawke as an actor. I'm so happy he's in the MCU. Though he's probably not anymore. We'll see what they do with him in the future. But Ethan Hawke as Arthur Harrow, very good villain. Scarlet Witch. From Multiverse of Madness. Very, very good. I'll put her... Oh, that's going to be a very hot take. I'll put her over Hela. I think she was an amazing villain in Multiverse of Madness. Emphasis on the amazing. I loved her in that movie. I thought her and Doctor Strange just going at it, and just her terrorizing everything in her path, ripping up the Illuminati. She was a menace. She was on demon time in that movie, and it was so good. It was so fun to watch. It was so satisfying to see her just go absolutely berserk in that movie. Very amazing. You know, she's great as a villain. She's awesome as a hero. You know, I will take no Wanda slander. I will take no Wanda slander. Gore. This is one of the more tougher and one of the more disappointing ones to do. Gore in Thor Love and Thunder. Now, this is hard, because was he a good villain in Thor? Yes. Could he have been amazing or even goated? Yes, if they would have just done him properly, but they didn't. And I think Christian Bale's performance saves him from being a very bad villain in Thor Love and Thunder. It'd be disrespect to put Christian Bale in the bad category. I can't bring myself to do it. He did a phenomenal job as Gore. And it's not his fault. It's the fault of how he was written, and the fault of the movie for not fleshing him out more and not doing him justice. So for that, I will put him with He Who Remains, because I feel like they kind of fall in the same category. Although He Who Remains is just the fault of the formula that got to him. The lady from Miss Marvel, I'm gonna say hot garbage. I mean, she was just bad, and I kind of wish the show didn't even have a villain. I wish it was just Kamala learning to control her powers and, juggling the identity and keeping it from her family and just keep her in New Jersey. I don't think there should have been a villain at all. So bringing in the clandestines, I think was a horrible decision, and it really brought down the show a lot for me because I was enjoying her very much, Kamala that is, and then they brought the clandestines in, and it all just kind of went downhill. And we talked about this a lot over on the podcast, Words from the Nerds on YouTube. Go subscribe, go listen, go show some love. And we just kind of didn't like her at all. Me and Charlie had our words for her as a villain. Nothing on the actress at all, but just as a villain, wasn't good. Brought the show down a lot. Namor, GOAT. GOAT. I had to. He was so damn good in Wakanda Forever. And I love him so much. The representation was out of this world, appreciated from me and other, Hispanics across the entire world. I love seeing him in this movie. The accent makes me fall to my knees every single time. Talocan is an amazing, destination to add to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And having Tenoch Huerta lead the way, having Namor lead the way and introduce us to this beautiful city was so good. I mean, one of the hardest lines in the movie. He says, "Bury your dead, mourn your losses. You are the queen now." Oh, man. Bars. Like, this man was in his bag this movie. He was in his bag this movie. He's literally me. But Namor, phenomenal villain. Like I said, Ryan Coogler is 2 for 2 on his villains. Like, just have this man write the villains for every movie from now on, because Namor was out of this world phenomenal. He was so menacing, every time that the Wakandans talked about him to people that didn't know that the Talocans or Talocanians were, starting the war. Every time they talked about Namor to somebody, it was like this eerie presence. He was more like this ghost haunting the movie. But every time you talked to him, he had that charisma and he swayed you. And it was so good every single time. I love Tenoch Huerta in this. I love Namor. GOAT villain. Now we have Todd. Hot garbage. And while we're at it, let's put Titania there too. Just really no reason at all for them to be in the show. I mean, Todd, I can see. Titania, maybe. But, I mean, it was just bad. And then by the final episode, I mean, everything's written off anyway. So it's like, did they even matter? Should they have even been written into the show? It just wasn't good. I mean, I think Todd was funny. I love the actor that plays him. But, Todd as a character, Todd as a villain, just bad, just not good. I think She-Hulk really fumbled the bag hard on its storytelling and on its villain. It really felt like the show couldn't make up its mind on what it wanted to be, and suffered very heavily because of it. And Todd and Titania, got dealt the wrong hand, and it just did not turn out good at all for them. So they belong in the hot garbage section. And last, a very weird choice for last is the lady from Werewolf by Night. I really don't know where to put her. She was a villain, but I mean, she was a villain for 50 something minutes. Does she deserve to be in the main category? I don't know. I guess I'll put her at fine, behind Red Skull. And that concludes it. So I'll go through some final adjustments and I'll come back and we'll see the final list. All right, I made my final adjustments. Okay, so I did move, quite a bit of stuff around. Namor, I moved above Bucky. And I don't know how that's going to sit, but I did it. Personal bias, I love Namor so much. Put him above Bucky, but I mean, they're both right there. I also moved Ultron around. I put him above Mysterio and the Mandarin, and then I put kept Mysterio above the Mandarin, and Hela above all three of them. So I think that section is good. I got rid of Searcher and the Android Vision Ultron hybrid, and I put them all in the same category as Dormammu with each other. So here's my reasoning for that. Dormammu, again, comes in at the end of the movie as this big, crazy, bad monster, very cool to look at, but still comes in at the end of the movie, overshadowed by another villain. Could put him in side villain, but Searcher, I feel like, falls into that category. So I put him with Dormammu, and then same for the Ultron Vision hybrid. So all three of them together, that's fine. I moved old Hydra dude up to good, put Arthur below him. That checks out. That's looking fine. Yeah, this is the final list. Soak it in. But anyways, that concludes today's video. Here is the final tier list of all of the MCU villains and ranked at that. So take that as you please. Do you agree with this? Do you not agree with this? Let me know if you agree with some of my hot takes or if you don't, or drop some of your own hot takes. I don't know. But this was very fun. I love doing these tier lists. I had a ton of fun making this. So if you enjoyed, show some support, show some love. The other channels are in the link in the bio. Words from the Nerds podcast on everywhere. Aiden H Talks, wherever you have socials, wherever you want to find me, I'll be there. Thank you for watching this video. Expect a lot more soon. Peace.